Welcome back, Rebooters. This is Coach Church, and you're watching my video coaching series on recovering from porn addiction and porn-induced sexual dysfunctions. Today, I want to address the difference between naturally high libido, or the feeling of just being sexually aroused, being horny, and the compulsion to use pornography, because that becomes a very hard distinction to make. How do you know if you just have a high sex drive and are thinking about sex a lot because that's innate to who you are, or if it's pornography induced and what you're actually feeling is an addictive compulsion to seek out pornographic images? All right, before I get too far into today's topic, I want to tell you that on March 2nd, Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'll be live streaming on this channel on YouTube, doing just a Q&A. So if you've always wanted to ask me something, or didn't have the money or the inclination for an actual coaching session but want to get my feedback, now's the time. Join us, ask your questions. I'll be answering for about an hour. All right, I hope to see you there. Now today, the person that I'll be reading from is not actually a client letter like I usually read, but it's actually a post on the NoFap subreddit that someone sent to me. And I'm going to read from it because it's a very good example of what we're talking about today. He starts, "Before anyone points it out, yes, I know that some people have a naturally high sex drive and some people have a naturally low drive. But my relationship with porn actually manipulated me into making conclusions about my sex drive. So it's very common for compulsive porn users to think that they have a high sex drive. After all, they're perhaps masturbating several times or several hours throughout each day, thinking about sex and looking forward to their next pornography search or session, much more than they probably think is normal or they see other people around them doing. And so it's very easy to come to that conclusion, well, I just have a high sex drive, and that's why I'm spending a lot more time and energy on this than most people are around me that I know of. But the thing is that is often an erroneous conclusion. And once we are able to become porn-free and rediscover our natural sexuality, we realize maybe it's not so high and demanding of a sex drive as we thought it was." He says, "The endless variety and the element of sheer novelty that free internet pornography provides used to be irresistible to me. I used to masturbate to porn almost every single day and sometimes multiple times during the same day. Since I was doing it every day, I started to justify my obsessive usage by telling myself that maybe I have a very high sex drive. This self-justification only worsened things and led to more increased use. My sports team lost? Let's watch some porn. My academic exams didn't go as well as I'd have liked them to? Let's watch porn. Something made me angry. Let's watch porn. So even though the relationship started due to my curiosity about sex and the variety offered by porn, it ended up becoming nothing but a coping mechanism for my real-life frustrations and disappointments. This is why I have a problem with people who equate porn with sexuality, because sexuality should be about positivity, while many porn viewers use it to deal with negativity. But I didn't realize it at the time, as I thought this is all due to my high sex drive." And I like very much what he writes there at the end about that dichotomy between sex meaning intended to be positive, a positive experience, whereas he had started to use it to deal with negativity, and it became more associated with that negativity than positive experiences. And that's exactly right. Sexual expression, ideally, in a healthful setting, should be enjoyed because it gives us pleasure, it gives us joy, connection, bonding, and love. And there's no other reason needed, because it's wonderful. It brings joy into our lives, it feels good in the moment, and done in the right way, it brings lasting joy as well. But many compulsive porn users and or sex addicts start to use their sex drive and their sexual expression in another way, in a compulsive way. Instead of seeking it out simply for the pleasure of it alone, they start to use their sexuality to deal with negative emotions as a solution to anger, depression, isolation, anxiety, boredom. They can turn to that sexual release in order to escape from those problems in their lives. And that should definitely be a big red flag for you. If that's something that you notice yourself doing, that is definitely a warning sign that your sexual use might be compulsive. Internet porn especially is very good at exploiting this and making this a very easy trap to fall into, because it is so good, it is so finely tuned at arousing that part of our brains that processes sexual stimuli. Even though the rational part of ourselves, our minds and our brains, knows that this is not a real sexual opportunity, the part of us that processes it on a biological and neurological level sees those images on the screen and sees a real sexual opportunity. And so we get excited, we get aroused. That's how porn works. So when that accessibility to that sexual excitement becomes so easy and available in unlimited quantities for free at the click of a button or the swipe of a screen, it's very easy to start abusing it. And you start to realize that when you're using it, everything else just sort of melts away and you're completely focused on that stimulus because it's so powerful and so pleasurable. And if you start to use that as an escape mechanism, then you can start to abuse it and use it much more often than someone would naturally or normally masturbate without access to pornography. He says, now that I've spent about 5 months, I don't keep track of the exact number of days without porn. I relapsed hard twice within 2 weeks on 2 previous attempts to go porn-free. I have come to realize that this idea that I had about me having a high sex drive was just rubbish. That was what my porn use made me think. The first 2 to 3 weeks are tough, but once you go a month or two without porn, those raging urges start to balance out and get normalized. At least, that's my experience. I'm no longer constantly thinking about the next orgasm I'm going to have or the next porn video I'm going to watch. Even if I come across a picture somewhere or something else that might have earlier been a trigger, it really doesn't have any effect on me anymore. Now, I've not become asexual. I still masturbate, without porn, of course. Occasionally, once a week or once every 2 weeks. And as a straight man, I can still acknowledge when I find myself sexually attracted to a woman, but I no longer have the mentality that I have to always immediately quench my sexual urge whenever I feel one by using porn like I used to do, by using the idea of a high sex drive as an excuse. That is very poignant because many of us, especially if we are exposed to pornography early on in our lives and are used to satisfying whatever sexual urge comes about with masturbation, it can seem strange to feel that urge and just let it be. Just feel that sexual energy and not feel the need to expel it immediately, but to embrace it, to savor it, and to channel it into other aspects of your life, channel that energy in other directions. Now, once this gentleman left porn behind and got through that period of feeling the craving to use pornography, not to release his sexual energy, but just because he had become addicted to the dopaminergic quality, the dopamine stimulating quality of porn, and that easy emotional escape that it provided. Once he got through that period, he realized that his sex drive isn't actually as high as he thought it was, and it's not as demanding as it was when he was using pornography. Now, he might still have a perfectly functional sex drive, and probably does, even if he hasn't tested it out yet, to where when he has an actual intimate encounter with someone, it'll work fine. He'll have a satisfying and wonderful experience, but he's not constantly plagued anymore by powerful urges to expel that sexual energy, to have a sexual release. How can we tell, then, what is a real feeling of sexual arousal and horniness, and what is an urge to use pornography? Well, one method is to try masturbating without any sort of erotic imagery or even sexual fantasy, and just using lubrication, gentle stimulation. If you really, really are that horny and need a sexual release, this will be more than enough for you. But, however, if you find that this just doesn't work, it doesn't get you excited, you can't easily maintain an erection, maintain arousal, and reach orgasm, then that means that you're not actually horny. You just have an addictive compulsion to use pornography, to seek out that sexual imagery. So take that as a sign that you need more time to rest, recover, and reboot your brain. Allow that sensitization to happen so that when you do next have an actual intimate encounter or choose to masturbate porn-free, that it will work much, much better. So, along with many, many negatives like PIED, destructive fetishes, astronomical wastage of precious time, viewing of women as sex objects, etc., another negative effect that porn might have on you is to give you a warped idea of your own sex drive, he ends. And that is absolutely true. Truly, people who have been using pornography consistently throughout their adult lives, especially those who have developed a compulsive or addictive pattern of behavior with pornography, or who have developed desensitization, sexual dysfunction, escalation to fetishes that they didn't always have, those people truly do not know what their actual sexuality and sex drive feel like, because pornography is capable of altering our sexual tastes, our preferences, and the frequency and nature of our sexual desires. So if you really want to find out what your actual sex drive and sexuality feel like, live porn-free. Allow yourself that time to rediscover what you're actually attracted to, what your libido really feels like. And trust me, when you do express it with someone else in an intimate relationship, you will find that it is far more satisfying, 1,000 times more memorable and pleasurable and meaningful than any masturbation to porn ever was. All right, my friends, that's all I got for you today. As always, have a wonderful PMO-free day, and if you'd like my personal help and guidance, you can find me at addictedtointernetporn.com. I'll see you next time, and please do tune in for that live stream on March 2nd, Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you around.